My name is Jennifer Canizares, and I am the Digital Learning Coordinator for the elementary team here in Birdville ISD. And we're super excited today to have Cecilia Bentley with us. She is a high school chemistry and environmental science teacher in Frisco ISD, and she's going to share some awesome things with us about Google Forms, and I'm so looking forward to it. Just a few little housekeeping details. This session will end around 5, about 4:45, 4:50-ish. I'll put in the chat our form for attendance that you can fill out, and you will be getting a certificate for attending once you've filled out the form and submitted it. If you have any questions or anything like that, please just put them in the chat and we'll address those as they come. And we're just looking forward to hearing from Cecilia. So I'm going to go ahead and let her take it away.
All right. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm super excited. So I'm Cecilia Bentley. As she said, I do teach chemistry and environmental science in Frisco, and I am a Google Form nut. I love using Google Forms for everything. So I'm going to show you some different ways that you can use them in your classroom and some other ways you can customize and personalize yours. So first, if you would, please go ahead and fill out this Google Form that I have in the link here. And it's going to be on the next few slides, so feel free to catch it on the next slide. So the next one, I have a little bit about me, which I've already said. So I'm at Lone Star High School in Frisco. That's my Twitter handle, which you can get to from the website as well. And there is the link to my website, which I will get to a little later in the presentation as well. I am a Google Certified Educator Level 1. Haven't taken the plunge to do that Level 2 test yet. I'm a little nervous to do that, but Level 1. And what got me into doing the certification was how much I love using Google Forms. So breakdown about how I kind of envision this going. The timing's going to be a little different. First, I just kind of want to go over some different ways you can use forms in your classroom. And then I'll do a few minutes of demos about how to use certain features. And then the rest of the time is going to be structured create time, which you're actually going to use that same sign-in form to do. I can find information about it. I couldn't find it.
Okay. Someone has put in the chat. Okay, first of all, go ahead and mute your mic. And then also, yeah, someone said something about the link isn't working.
Huh.
Let me see.
Let's see if that link works.
Me? It's working.
It's working.
Okay, good.
Yes, so that link is for the check-in form. At some point you should get to wait here for the code, and that is, you'll know when that is when we get to that slide.
Okay.
So the first topic I'd like to talk about is how to use them for classroom organization. So there's a lot of benefits of Google Forms. Hopefully I don't have to sell you too much on why Google Forms are so great, because you are here. But some of the benefits are that it's all digital. You get timestamp submissions, and then you can also set up response receipts so that your students or even other faculty members can automatically get an emailed copy of their responses. This is really great for documentation, so they can fill something out and get an emailed reply of how they filled it out. Free for like tutoring signups or anything like that. So on the right here, I just show you how you can set up that response receipts in general settings. You have to turn on email collection, and then there is that response receipts option that you can check after that. So then the next topic is using them for bell ringers or exit tickets, as well as summative assessments. So the benefits for this is you get quick feedback. You reduce the amount of grading you have to do. Some grade books, you can easily import those grades using a CSV or comma separated values spreadsheet, which you can get straight from the Google form. It's harder for kids to cheat, even if they can still probably find a workaway. And then it's really easy to organize and sort your data based on different variables. So some of the features to do this, there's a make a quiz feature in Forms where you can set your answer key. You can set some questions with response validation where they have to type in exactly the right keyword in order to move on. And then you can also create the spreadsheet with the data, and you can set it to automatically shuffle both the answer choices and the question order. So that can provide basically a universal test form where it's automatically a different version for each student. So then some way, these are, so far it's pretty basic, everything you probably know you could give a test on a Google form. The next are some different ways you might not realize that you can use Google Forms in the classroom. So one is for remediation or review in digital breakouts. So there's two topics here. One is a choose your own adventure style form. This is set up where the students answer a question, and based on their response, they can be funneled to a different section of the form. And so I like doing this with a practice question. If they get it right, they move on to the next question. If they don't, then it funnels them to a review where I can put in a video or some notes, or even say, hey, check in with your teacher here. And they have to complete that before continuing on with the rest of the questions. There's also digital breakouts you can make with Google Forms. I've done some where I've actually embedded the form in into a Google site, and that's one way of doing it. And you can also do it just within a Google form. So some of the features to be able to set these up are go to section based on answer. That's how I set up the choose your own adventure style forms. And then response validation, where they have to type in exactly that right code in order to move on. Okay, so next, let's take a look at some features that are going to take your Google Forms to that next level. So one thing you've probably noticed is a lot of the forms you get are that lovely shade of purple that everyone likes to use. And that's generally because they either don't have the time or the knowledge to customize their forms. So that's these features we're going to look at customizing. So these first set of features were released in May 2018, which it both seems like a long time ago and not any time at all. So some of these features include automatic answer suggestions, autocomplete answers. At this point in time was when they allowed you to automatically grade checkbox questions that you weren't able to do that before, as well as give partial credit and have YouTube videos as your feedback on a question. So then next we have theme options. This is what I was hinting at with that lovely color. Oh, got music for passing periods. It's the end of the day, so we've got Hawaii Five-0 playing. So I'll wait until this is done. How are we doing in chat? Are there any questions, or is there anything I need to slow down and go back over?
No, not, you're doing good. There's not any question. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So for the theme options, you can pick colors, you can add an image to be your background, and then pick a color based on that image. You can change the background color, you can change the font. This, you can really, options are limitless with this. And here's the next song. There's going to be two more right after, well, soon after this. So just in case you're wondering, we have different music to signal the stages of our staggered release. So that's what that is for. So that was the theme options. So next, let's look at some other features. One is locked mode. They released this fully last year. For a little while, it was a beta program you had to join, but it's released to everybody now. Some notes, it only works on district devices. So if they're using it at home, it won't lock them out of the form. And if they do get it, it is inaccessible if it's a non-district device. So if you turn lock mode on and you have students from home, they will not be able to access it unless they have a district device. I've also noticed that if they don't keep their devices awake, it can kind of kick them out. And That's not great with a locked assessment. And then I've also noticed that students are usually open to still reopen the form, and all it does is email me saying, hey, this person reopened it, which didn't really prevent them from using it. So whether this may not be as useful as I thought it was going to be, but it does have its benefits, depending if it's probably better for face-to-face to do that. A new feature they released last summer is import questions. So if you find yourself using a lot of the same questions on every form, instead of retyping the question every time, you can just import. So there's this little import button that will show up on the side. And as soon as it pops up, you choose whatever form you're looking for and pick which questions you want. You can even import all of the questions and just kind of duplicate the form, but with your new format or new customization. So that's that one. Next, some form add-ons. So these are things that are not within Google Forms automatically. You can get these from the Chrome Web Store. I reached a point where I was like, okay, what else can I do with forms? Surely there has to be more. So I looked up some add-ons. There is this article I found, which is linked up here with this bit.ly. It's going to be on this slide and the next slide. And don't worry, you are going to get a copy of the slides at the end. So for this, I found some add-ons from this article that I thought were worth including in this presentation. The first is SurveyMonkey. You can add different types of questions that aren't already available in forms. You can set up email notifications so that it will the forms will email you whenever you get a new response. That would be great. Music. I'm just realizing I should have turned this into a name that tune game in the middle of my session. So another add-on that you can do is a booking calendar, which is great for scheduling things. So both email notification and booking calendars would be great for if you have students signing up for a tutorial, especially with virtual where they have to schedule a time for you to have a Zoom set up for them to do. So these are some add-ons. The next slide is also going to have some more. And again, there's that link to that article, so you can check out all the others as well. There's another one called Certify 'em, where you can create online certificates for students that they'll get a certificate if they score well on a form. You can do this one that's called Choice Eliminator 2, which deletes options from questions so they can't choose the same thing twice. And then there's this other one called Pictographer, which allows you to create custom designs and put them straight in your form. So that's it for the add-ons. So now we're going to go back to your sign-in form, and we're going to enter the secret code, which is Frenzy. So once you get to the next section, it's going to have 2 questions for you. You're going to answer that, and then you can go on to the next section right after that. So I'll pause for a minute. Okay, how are we doing on the form? Because right after this little survey question, it's going to go straight into the guided practice or the guided work time. Are there any features you would like me to do a demo on? I can open up a form and go through some features. That's kind of what I had set for the demo. And here's our last music. Okay. So in chat, if you would go ahead and drop any features that you would like me to kind of showcase, I can pull up a blank form and go through how to set up those different features. Well, let's see. I'm not seeing anything come through chat. Please let me know if there's any features, or I can just start kind of building one from scratch, and you can let me know as we go what you would like me to show.
Does anyone have anything that they would like to see? If you want to put it in the chat or just unmute your mic and let us know. I think everybody's tired today.
Yeah. Could be. All right, well, I think maybe I'll start building a blank one from scratch and just kind of start from that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Go to forms. And then I'm just gonna create a new one. I need to zoom back in. Okay, I'll just start from a blank one. So here is the very familiar purple color that we are also used to seeing. Let's change that. So to customize theme, you're going to click on this little palette here. Then you can choose your image. It's got all of the preset options that you've probably seen if you use Google Classroom, but you can also upload. And then if you have photos in your Google Drive, you can click on photos and already import one of them from your Google Drive. So for this one, let's see, it's Halloween. So let's try to do a Halloween one. Your illustrations. Oh, look, some spiders. Let's do some spiders. Okay, so now that it's put in the picture, it has given me suggested colors. If I don't like these, I can hit the plus button and add a custom color. But I think I am just going to go with this orange that matches. And then I can change the background color. I can make it darker, medium, or just plain white. And then we can change the font. They have the basic one. You can do decorative. That's kind of hard for the kids to read though, so I usually don't use that one. I will sometimes use formal or playful though, because nothing says playful like Comic Sans. And then you just title your form. One thing that's kind of important to know is your title up here in the top left-hand corner, only you can see. But the title here is what the students will see. So let's just call this a sign-up form. If you are going to use CSV or spreadsheets to try to upload to your gradebook, one thing that's really important to have is an ID number question. And that's something you probably don't always think about having. And notice as soon as I put ID number, it says response validation has been added. This requires that whatever is typed in is a number. You can do the same thing if you add a question that's email address. It will automatically switch it to short answer. And then I'm going to turn on response validation. And here's our last song. I like seeing everybody jamming in the video. It's great. Okay, so email address, you can turn it on, and instead of a number, this time we want text contains, and then you can change it to email address. And then you can say, as custom error text, you can say must be an email address. And so that's how you would set that up.
All students must exit the building. Once again, all students should be out of the building at this time.
All right. All students should be out of the building. Okay. So we have our email address must be an email address. And then I want to make this required. So I'm going to toggle this. So now students have to answer this with, or they cannot move on. So that's one great thing with required and response validation by having both of those. Unless this is accepted, if it's required, they can't skip it and they can't move on. So let's add like a name. I like to split up last name and first name into separate questions just so it's easier to sort. So I'll just put last name. I'm going to make it required. And then since I'm going to type the same thing next, I'm just going to make a copy of that and change it to first name. And so that's kind of some good information. I maybe want what class period they're in. So then you can put whatever class periods. I know some people have A and B day. Some people just have straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Can do that. At my school right now, our virtual classes, we actually have some different campuses. So that's one question I've had to add this year is what is your home campus? And then put in campus A, B, C, D, whatever. Make sure that's required so I can sort much easier. So I always start, especially with a quiz or something, I start with these basic questions. And then if I want to set it up to scramble the question order, I'm going to make a new section. That way the test questions don't get scrambled in with my information questions. So now I've made a new section. I'm going to add a question. And this can be whatever you want. I'm going to set this where it's going to be a go to section based on answer. So I'm going to say, did you understand the material from last class? And see, it has our suggestions here. So I'm going to add all, yes, no, maybe. And then I'm going to require it. And then I'm going to click these 3 little dots and click go to section based on answer. So if I need to add 2 more sections, actually, that's the thing with this is you have to add sections. So I'm going to make this very next section, section 3, a review section. And I'm going to make the final section a continue section. So then if they said that they understand it, they're going to skip the review section, go straight to the next to section 4. If they put no or maybe, I'm going to make them go to that review section. And so I can force them into that path by changing it here. And then if they put yes, they get to skip straight over the review section. So now for the review section, some things you could put text and just say, last class, we covered this. Lots of typos, that's okay. Last class we covered this and just talk about what it is. Then you could add a picture. If you have like a chart or something, if there's something you want to find on Google, you can. So I'm just going to do like chart populations. Okay, so we've got a chart here. We're going to insert the chart. Then you can add a title. Something else you can add a video, which can go straight from YouTube, or if you have a specific video at another URL, you can paste the URL and go straight. It has to be YouTube though. So you can search if you don't know what you're looking for, or if you know exactly what video on YouTube you want, you can paste the URL and it will pop the video straight up. So that's pretty neat. You can add a video. After the video, you can add a question, asking them something specific from the video to make sure they understand. Kind of like Edpuzzle, the only benefit is with Edpuzzle has over this is that with Edpuzzle, you can put a question at a specific point in time. Here, you can't do that. It's just watch the video and then answer the questions. So there we've built our review section. So now for our continue section, they're going to get the next question. Let's do another response validation. So let's say I want them to check in with me. So I'm going to say check in with your teacher and type in the code they give you. So I'm going to set this as short answer. I'm going to require it, and then I'm going to turn on response validation. So here they're going to type in a code word that I give them. So I'm going to change it to text, contains, and then I'm going to put whatever my code word is, which could be pumpkin, since it's near Halloween. Pumpkin. And then I can say, nope, you didn't get the right code. Try the code again. And so if they're not typing it in right, they can come back, talk to me, and I can give them the code again, or they can just try to spell it right if they spelled it wrong. Let's see, what other features have I not gone over? I feel like that's just about everything. Is there anything in chat that I should address?
No, there is not. Does anyone have any questions or anything they want to comment on?
Oh no. Sorry, I lost you. Do you know where I lost you? I can try to go back. We've got plenty of time. Let's see. Oh, let's make a quiz. That's the real thing. So for this, we're going to go to settings, which is the little gear shape. You can turn email collection on, where it forces them to type in their email address. I already made that a question, so I'm not going to do that. If you want only your school organization to be able to fill it out, you check this. If you want other people to be able to fill it out, you want to uncheck it. If it's a quiz or a test, you probably want to turn on limit to one response, unless you want them to be able to go back through it. Respondents can edit after submit. If you check this, they will be able to change their answers after they see their score. So if it's a test, you do not want to check this. And then see summary charts and text responses if you want them to see what other people have put or what most people have. This is great for like a poll, but if it's a quiz or test, you do not want to check this. Okay, now let's go to the next section of settings, which is presentation. You can show progress bar. This is if you have multiple sections, it can show how far they go. It's really up to you if you want them to see. If you only have one section or two sections, it really won't make much of a difference. Shuffle question order. I love turning this on for tests because it will randomize the questions and nobody knows what order they're going to get them in. It will shuffle even questions in each section. So that first section I made was just information gathering. All of those will be scrambled, but since I put them in a separate section, it won't be scrambled in with the test questions. It'll just be scrambled in its own section. Okay, so now we're going to go to quizzes. We're going to make this a quiz. Here again is locked mode where you can, but again, it does not work on non-district devices. It has to be a managed Chromebook. And there are those other issues I discussed with it. So it's up to you if you want to use it. If you want them to see their grade right away, you can click this. If you want to be mean and make them wait, click this one. It will turn on the email collection. That way they'll get an email whenever you do decide to release the scores. I generally let them go ahead and see it right away, but I don't let them see which ones they got wrong. I don't like letting them see the correct answers. And I usually will let them see the point values, but it's up to you with that one. Some people like to let them see which questions they missed. I don't, just because I'm going to be using the same questions with all of my classes and I don't want them to be able to share with their friends which ones they missed. So then save. And so now when we add a question, let's say we're going to make this, it's a multiple choice question. I don't even know what question one. And then we're just going to put A, B, C, D. If we wanted to scramble the order, what we're going to do is click these three little dots, and then it says shuffle option order. And then for tests, it's always a good idea to require the questions that they need to answer. So unless you're okay with them leaving it blank, because if it's not required, it won't make them answer it before turning it in. And so I've had it once where a question wasn't required and they skipped over it on accident and submitted it, and it counted as wrong since they didn't answer it, but they didn't intend to not answer it. It just didn't work out for them. So I think, oh, answer key. Now that it's a quiz question, we're going to put an answer key in. So you can adjust the number of points. So I can make this question 5 points. You click the answer. I'm going to make the answer C. And then you can add answer feedback. So whenever they're getting their score and they're going back and looking at it, it can have feedback. So if it's incorrect, you can say this topic was over this. Talk about what it is. You can add a YouTube video. So let's do fractions or something. Let's put simplifying fractions. So if they got it wrong, they now have a video that tells them basically what they should have done to get the correct answer. And if it's correct, you can say, great job. And then save. So now they'll get different feedback depending on how they did on that one question. Let's try adding a different type of question. So this one, let's do, here are the different types of questions. So you can do short answer. That's really good for response validation. Paragraph is a nice free response question. You're going to have to go through and hand grade those though. Multiple choice is standard. Check boxes are fun. I'll do those if it's like several options and they can pick more than one. I don't usually do questions like that on tests though, because I don't like to trip them up. You can do drop down. This is very similar to multiple choice. It just drops it down so you don't see all of the options at the same time. You can do a file upload if you want them to submit something that they've made, and then you'll get it through a form. You can do a linear scale, which is like a rating. So I actually used this today and was rate how comfortable you are with this topic. And I'll make one like easy peasy. I got it, no problem. And number 5 is like, what's that? And so then they'll just rank how they feel with that. I guess you can set an answer key for what the points are. I don't know what she would do with that. Let's add another question. So you can do one that is a multiple choice grid. So with this, you have rows and columns. So this is great. This is basically your matching questions. So let's say we've got A, B, C, and we're just going to match them with a number 1, 2, 3. You can require a response in each row so they don't skip one. And you can also limit to 1 response per column so they can't pick the same thing more than once. And that kind of eliminates your answer choices there. So let's add another question. Let's see what else they've got. Checkbox grid. This again, you can check. It's very similar to the circle, to the multiple choice. It's just with a checkbox. Basically the same. You can do date, where they can put what day it is. This is again great for tutoring signups. If you want them to say what date they're going to show up for tutoring. You can also add time. And this is, they'll input whatever time they want to do it. Great for scheduling appointments and things like that. And I feel like we've gone just over everything. Here's the import button again. So you can, it'll pull up all of your Google Forms, of which I have many. And then you can import whatever questions you want from them so you don't have to create them from scratch again. I think that's just about it. If you get any of those add-ons that I talked about, there's this puzzle piece. You can click that, and as you can see, I've got Certify them and a couple of them, and that shows you can activate any of those from the puzzle piece. And then if you want to see what your form looks like, you click the little eyeball. And so here we've got this. We've got to answer all those questions before they can move on to the next section, and they only see the questions 1 section at a time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to slides now because I do have the final slide here. So on that form that I gave you, there is a little feedback questions because I'm constantly trying to make the session better. And I don't know if some of the features that I talked about are like everybody knows about it now. So just let me know if there's anything I covered that I might as well take out. If there's anything you wish I would spend more time on, let me know in that form. And then here is the link to the slides and resources. I will copy that and put it in chat, so you can have that as well. You're welcome. I'm so glad that this was helpful. Again, please let me know if you have questions of anything, or if there's anything you would like me to go over in more detail.
I'm going to go ahead and put the link for the attendance form, which is also a Google form.
Oh, you're muted right now.
There we go. Anyway, I just put the attendance form in, so you can go ahead and click on that and fill that out to get your credit for today. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute your mic and just ask them, or if you want to put them in the chat, that's fine too. Cecilia, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this for us. This was really great.
Absolutely. I'm glad it was useful. I love sharing the magic of Google Forms.
Yeah, they are magical, that's for sure. And I actually learned some new add-ons. I had not heard of Certify them, so I'm gonna have to go check that out. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I will show real quick the website. If you go to that link, it's going to dump you straight in resources. But then if you want the slides from today, you go to home, and they're the first thing right up here.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well,
thanks so much for coming, everyone.
Yeah, if you don't have any questions, I can go ahead and end it now.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you all very much. And just remember, we have one more day of Empowered with some great sessions again tomorrow. So we would love for you to come back and join us. And thank you again, Cecilia, for spending your afternoon after school with us. It was kind of fun to listen to that music at dismissal.
Oh,
yeah, that's great.
It's great.
That is great. Yeah.
The kids don't know what the music's from usually. They know Friends, but all the other ones, it's like, what is that from?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of cool. So, all right, well, we will go ahead and close this out. This recording will be added to our Empowered website later on Friday. And so if you want to go back and watch this again, you're welcome to do that. And I hope everyone has a great evening.